My name's Sara, and if you told me 5 years ago that I'd be in the middle of a tech startup whirlwind with Alex, of all people, I'd have laughed in your face. Alex and I met in college, in one of those high-falutin business courses where everyone thinks they're the next big thing. From the get-go, Alex and I were at each other's throats, competing for grades, internships, you name it. Think you can beat my presentation, Sara? Alex would tease, leaning against the classroom door with that annoying smirk. Watch me, Alex. I'm not just going to beat it, I'm going to make you wish you never stepped up. I'd fire back, my words a mix of jest and determination. That was our thing, always pushing each other to be better, but never admitting it was actually helpful. It wasn't until a group project forced us to work together that things shifted. We found our rhythm, a balance between his bold ideas and my attention to detail. One night, while cramming for the project, we ended up sharing more than just notes. You know, Sara, I always thought you were just a pain in my ass. But you're actually kinda brilliant, Alex confessed, his guard down for once, as we sat amidst a sea of papers and empty coffee cups. Kinda brilliant? Please, I'm the best thing that's happened to this project. But yeah, you're not too shabby yourself, Alex, I said, the words feeling foreign but honest. That project was a turning point. Our bickering turned into brainstorming sessions, and before we knew it, we were more than just competitors or even friends. We were in love, talking about futures and dreams in a way neither of us had dared before. One evening, just as the sun was setting, casting a golden glow over the campus, Alex turned to me with an idea. What if we don't just dream about making something of ourselves? What if we actually do it? Together? You mean, start a company? You and me? I asked, the idea sounding crazy but thrilling. Yeah, why not? We make a good team, Sara. We could make this work, Alex said, his eyes alight with the kind of passion I'd come to admire. I couldn't help but laugh, the sound echoing in the emptying quad. All right, Mr. Big Shot. But if we're doing this, we're doing it my way. No half-assing it. Deal. But I'm the director, Alex quickly added, that familiar smirk returning. Fine, Mr. Director. But remember, behind every great man is a woman rolling her eyes, I quipped, our laughter mingling with the promises of the future. Fast forward to graduation, and we were married. Not just to each other, but to our dream. We poured everything we had into our startup. Alex took the title of director, wearing it like a crown. Part of me found it endearing, his childlike excitement at being able to call himself a director. I knew the title meant the world to him, not for the power it held, but for the status he thought it brought. Our little company started to grow, our dreams slowly turning into reality. It was hard work, longer hours than either of us could have imagined, but we were doing it. Together. Our little startup was like a newborn, demanding all our time and attention. Alex and I were in it elbow deep, trying to juggle a million things at once. It was during this chaotic dance of meetings, coding sessions, and endless coffee runs that Emily walked into our lives. We hired her on the spot. It wasn't just her confidence, it was her energy. She was like a live wire, ready to electrify our startup and push it into the spotlight. And that's exactly what she did. Emily wasn't just good at her job, she was phenomenal. Her campaigns were creative, edgy, and exactly what we needed. But it wasn't just her work that stood out, it was her personality. She was funny, quick-witted, and fit right into the little family we were building at the company. It was easy with Emily. She had this way of making everyone feel at ease, a magnetic personality that drew you in. But there were moments when I caught a glimpse of something else, a sort of loneliness that she masked with her humor. One day, while we were brainstorming in the office, I decided to broach the subject. Emily, how come someone as awesome as you is still single? Not prying, just curious. Emily's smile faltered for a second before she shrugged, her usual brightness dimming. Guess not everyone's as lucky as you, Sara. Finding a guy like Alex? That's like striking gold. Her words were offhand, but the undercurrent of bitterness was unmistakable. It caught me off guard, stirring an unease I couldn't quite place. Hey, there's plenty of gold out there. Just gotta know where to look. I tried to lighten the mood, but Emily just shook her head, the topic clearly closed for discussion. As the days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months, our little company began to take shape. Emily's campaigns were bringing in clients, and our product was gaining traction. But it wasn't just the business that was growing, our relationships were too. Emily had become an integral part of our lives, blurring the lines between work and friendship. It was a golden time, filled with hard work, harder laughs, and the feeling that we were on the brink of something great. Emily, with her talent and fire, had become more than just an employee. She was a friend, a confidant, and a crucial part of our dream. As our startup began gaining momentum, I noticed a shift in Alex's focus. It wasn't the company that kept him busy, but rather, the pursuit of the perfect business suit or the latest model car. His obsession with appearances had always been a quirk I tolerated, but now it seemed to take precedence over the hard graft our company required. Alex, don't you think there's more to focus on right now than another suit? I asked him one morning, finding him browsing through an online luxury store during work hours. Come on, Sara. You know how it is. Looking the part is half the battle in business. Life's too short to deny myself the finer things, he retorted without looking up, his attention fixed on the screen. I shook my head, exasperated. Sure, but maybe the other half of the battle is actually running the business? You know, the one we're trying to build here? He finally glanced up, offering a half-smile that was meant to disarm. Relax, Sara. Everything's under control. A director needs to look sharp. It's good for morale. His nonchalance irked me, but I decided to let it go. There were bigger battles to fight, especially with the unsettling rumors that had begun to circulate around the office. One late evening, I was burning the midnight oil in the office when I decided to take a break and grab some coffee. As I neared the break room, I caught snippets of conversation that made me freeze in my tracks. Saw Alex and Emily cozying up in the marketing suite yesterday. Didn't look like any work meeting to me, one of our developers muttered, unaware of my presence. Yeah, there's definitely something going on there. They've been spending a lot of time together after hours. Another chimed in, their tone laced with gossip. I felt a lump form in my throat. My initial instinct was to brush it off as baseless office chatter, but the seed of doubt was planted. With a heavy heart and a mind swirling with questions, I retreated back to my office, the coffee forgotten. The next day, I decided to confront Alex. I needed to hear his side, to clear the air. Finding him in his office, leaning back in his chair with that all-too-familiar smirk, I didn't waste any time. Alex, we need to talk. There's talk going around about you and Emily. What's going on? My tone was more confrontational than I intended, my emotions getting the better of me. Alex's smirk faded, replaced by a look of confusion. Talk? What talk? Sara, you know me. Why would I do anything to jeopardize what we have here? His words were meant to be reassuring, but there was a stiffness to his laughter that didn't sit right with me. I want to believe you, Alex, but the rumors. They're not just going to go away. People are talking. People always talk, Sara. It doesn't mean we have to listen. Emily's a crucial part of our team, nothing more. You think I'd risk our dream for a fling? Alex's voice was firm, his eyes meeting mine in a challenge. I wanted to believe him, to brush off the rumors as just that, rumors. But the nagging doubt lingered, casting a shadow over our conversation. All right, Alex. I just needed to hear it from you. Let's just focus on the work, okay? Always, he replied, but the ease that once defined our interaction seemed strained, tainted by suspicion. In the days that followed, I threw myself into my work, trying to ignore the whispers and the sideways glances. Emily, for her part, seemed oblivious to the rumors, her focus solely on her campaigns. But the atmosphere in the office had changed. What was once a place of camaraderie and innovation now felt like a minefield. I found myself observing Alex and Emily more closely, searching for any sign that the rumors might be true. Their interactions, once thoughtless and friendly, now seemed fraught with hidden meanings. The weeks leading up to the big contract signing were a blur of negotiations, revisions, and, frankly, a fair bit of groveling. The director on the other end was the type who'd make a saint swear. Every meeting, every call, it felt like wading through mud. But the payoff? It was going to be huge. This deal was our ticket to the big leagues, a chance to level up our startup in ways we'd only dreamed of. So, I buckled down, ignored the growing pile of laundry at home, and let takeout containers become my primary diet. Look, I know he's a pain, but if we land this, it's game changer, I told Alex during one of our late-night strategy sessions. Yeah, if he doesn't drive us insane first, Alex replied, his eyes glued to his laptop. Emily chimed in with her usual optimism. We've got this. Sara's been crushing it. He's practically eating out of her hand now. I wasn't so sure about the eating out of her hand part, but we were close, damn close. And when the day finally came to ink the deal, the sense of anticipation in the office was electric. The annoying director, somehow less irksome with a pen in hand ready to sign, was there alongside us, a necessary evil in our path to victory. The moment the contract was signed, the atmosphere shifted from tense anticipation to outright celebration. Champagne bottles popped, and glasses clinked, the sound of success ringing loud in the lobby of our little startup that could. Alex, with that director by his side, stepped forward to address the crowd. I want to take a moment to recognize the incredible effort that went into making today possible. Alex started, his voice carrying over the buzz of conversations. Sara, in particular, has been instrumental in getting us to this point. There was applause, a few cheers, and I allowed myself a small smile. Maybe all the stress was worth it after all. But then Alex's smile turned into something I couldn't read, a mix of smugness and something colder. Which is why it's even harder to announce that as of today, Sara will no longer be with us. The room fell silent, the kind of silence that sucks the air right out of you. What are you talking about, Alex? I managed, my voice sounding foreign to my own ears. As the director of this company, I've made the decision to let Sara go. We're moving in a new direction, and it's a decision I've not made lightly, Alex continued, his eyes avoiding mine. The confusion was palpable, the shock of his words echoing off the walls. My heart hammered against my ribs, a mix of disbelief and rising fury taking hold. You can't be serious. After everything, you're firing me? From my own company? My voice was rising, the outrage clear. The room spun, faces blending into a mosaic of shock and sympathy. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. This deal was meant to be our triumph, not my downfall. Everyone's eyes were on us, shock painted on every face. But Alex wasn't done. With a coldness I'd never seen in him, he added. And, there's more. I'm filing for divorce, Sara. This has been a long time coming. Before I could even process the words, Emily, the so-called friend and our advertising executive, stood up and wrapped her arms around Alex. Her laughter sliced through the silence, a sound so out of place it felt surreal. I've known Alex way before you did, sweetie. Emily gloated, her eyes locked on mine, filled with a triumph I couldn't comprehend. All this, your little dream company, was just part of our plan. You were just a stepping stone. The room spun. This was a nightmare. You planned this? My voice was barely a whisper, my mind struggling to piece together the betrayal. Alex shrugged, a smirk playing on his lips. Business is business, Sara. We needed you to get the company off the ground, to seal the deal. And now, we're moving on. The betrayal stung, a physical pain in my chest. I stood up, my chair scraping loudly against the floor. The eyes of our employees, once filled with respect and camaraderie, now showed anger and disbelief. I can't believe you, was all I managed to say before turning to leave, my vision blurred by tears. But then, something unexpected happened. One by one, our team stood up. "We're with you, Sara," Mark, one of our developers, said firmly. "We don't want any part of this betrayal." "Yeah, count us out," another joined in. "We signed up to work with you, not them." Their words, their solidarity, gave me strength. I wasn't alone. As we all walked out together, Alex's voice echoed in the now empty lobby, calling out in a futile attempt to make them stay. In the end, it was just Alex and Emily left standing in the lobby of the company I built. Their victory was hollow, their future uncertain. We gathered in my small living room, a makeshift war room, surrounded by whiteboards and laptops. The air was thick with the smell of coffee and the buzz of ideas bouncing off the walls. "Okay, team, we're at square one again, but that's not going to stop us," I started, my voice firm, trying to project confidence I was still mustering up. "We've got the talent, the drive, and most importantly, we've got each other." Mark, ever the pragmatist, was the first to speak up. "Right, we've got heart, but we also need a solid plan. What's our angle? What are we bringing to the table that's different this time?" Lisa, who had always been the creative spark, jumped in. "We need to innovate. Remember those ideas we thought were too out there? Now's the time to bring them to life. No holding back." The room nodded in agreement, the energy shifting from uncertainty to excitement. It was clear we were all in, ready to take risks we'd previously shied away from. "And what about Alex and Emily?" "They're not going to take this lying down," I said, the thought of facing them again leaving a bitter taste. "We focus on us, not them," Mark said firmly. "We build something so good they won't be able to touch us. Let them play their games. We're here to win." The room erupted into a chorus of agreement, the resolve in each voice stronger than any doubt or fear. "We need a name," Lisa suddenly said, a smile spreading across her face. "Something that tells the world we're not just back, but better than ever." The suggestions started flying, some ridiculous, some brilliant, but all of them infused with the hope and camaraderie that had brought us together in my living room. After hours of debate, brainstorming, and more cups of coffee than I could count, we landed on a name that felt right. It was bold, it was fresh, and it perfectly captured the essence of our new beginning. Phoenix. With our mission clear and our spirits high, we ended the meeting with a sense of purpose. The road ahead was uncertain, but for the first time since the betrayal, I felt like we were on the right path. As everyone packed up their things, Mark lingered behind, a thoughtful look on his face. "You know, Sara, what Alex did, it's going to make our victory that much sweeter. We're going to show him what he lost. We're going to show everyone." His words were the reassurance I needed. Yes, we had been knocked down, but we were far from out. This wasn't just about revenge, it was about proving to ourselves that we could rise from the ashes, stronger and more united than ever. After filing for divorce, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders, the kind you don't realize you're carrying until it's gone. My newfound freedom was intoxicating, a fresh start I hadn't known I desperately needed. Then, out of the blue, Alex called, his voice dripping with urgency and desperation. He wanted to meet, and despite every instinct telling me it was a bad idea, curiosity won over. We agreed to meet at a rundown diner on the outskirts of town, a place so nondescript it felt like a metaphor for our failed marriage. Alex was already there when I arrived, looking like a shadow of the man I once knew, with Emily, the cause of all this drama, clinging to his arm like a designer handbag. "Sara, thank you for coming," Alex began, trying to muster a semblance of dignity. We're in a bit of a bind." Emily, her eyes swollen from what I assumed were tears, chimed in with a sniffle. "The deal, Sara, the big deal we were all so happy about, it's gone. Cancelled." I couldn't help it, laughter bubbled up from within me, echoing off the dingy diner walls. "Oh, let me guess, the contract that anyone could cancel within 14 days? That one?" I managed between fits of laughter. Their faces were a mix of shock and embarrassment. "How did you?" Alex stammered, unable to finish. The director, the one you found so annoying? Turns out he has a thing against working with backstabbers, I said, my grin widening. The look of defeat on their faces was almost enough to make me feel sorry for them. Almost. Then, Alex, ever the opportunist, tried to salvage what little he could from the wreckage. Sara, where did you get the funds for your new venture? Legally, I'm entitled to half, he said, desperation seeping through his feigned confidence. The audacity of the man was almost impressive. I laughed, harder this time, the sound bitter. Alex, dear, I've been making money long before you decided playing director suited you. I was a genius when you met me, and I'll be a genius long after you're just a footnote in my success story. Their faces were a picture of realization, the truth finally dawning on them that they had underestimated me at every turn. Standing up, ready to leave this chapter of my life behind, I looked them both in the eye. Good luck, you too. Something tells me you're going to need it far more than I ever will. As I walked out of the diner, the sun broke through the clouds, bathing the world in a warm, golden light. It felt symbolic, a sign that despite everything, I was on the right path. In the days that followed, I threw myself into my work, my new company, becoming a beacon of hope and ambition. The team and I worked day and night, our shared vision fueling us forward. Meetings with investors, late-night brainstorming sessions, and the relentless pursuit of innovation became my new normal. Each small victory was a testament to our resilience, a middle finger to those who had tried to bring us down. One evening, as we celebrated landing a major client, the team gathered around, beers in hand, the mood light and triumphant. Mark, ever the voice of reason, raised his glass. To Sara, the toughest boss I've ever had the pleasure of working for. You showed us what it means to rise from the ashes. The team cheered, their support and belief in me more valuable than any deal or contract. Yeah, and to think, Alex and Emily thought they could take you down, Lisa added, laughter in her voice. I smiled, my heart full. Let them think what they want. We're here, we're succeeding, and that's the best revenge we could ever have. After everything that went down, I did the only thing I knew how. I built something new from the ground up. My new company wasn't just a rebound, it was a phoenix rising from the ashes, stronger and more vibrant than anything before. And the best part? My loyal crew was right there with me, every step of the way. We even managed to lock down a deal with the same partner company that bailed on Alex and Emily, proving that integrity and hard work do pay off. One day, as we were wrapping up a team meeting in our new, buzzing office space, Mark couldn't help but bring up the latest gossip that had been making rounds. So, have you guys heard? Alex and Emily's venture tanked. They're drowning in debt. Lisa, always the one to find a silver lining, added with a smirk. Guess they learned the hard way that you can't build something lasting on lies and betrayal. I leaned back in my chair, the corners of my mouth turning up. Well, it's a tough lesson, but it looks like karma doesn't take shortcuts. The room filled with nods and murmurs of agreement. It was true, we'd come out on the other side of adversity, not just surviving, but thriving. Alright, team, let's keep our eyes on the prize. We've got a lot to do, and I'm damn proud of what we've achieved. But this is just the beginning, I said, standing up, feeling the energy of the room lift even higher. As the team dispersed back to their desks, filled with a renewed sense of purpose, I couldn't help but reflect on the journey. Starting over wasn't just about proving Alex and Emily wrong, it was about proving to ourselves that we could overcome anything. Later, as I was getting ready to leave for the day, Mark caught up with me by the elevator. You know, Sara, seeing Alex and Emily's downfall doesn't give me as much satisfaction as seeing what we've built here. This is real success. I smiled, looking back at the office where our team was hard at work, laughter and light filling the space. You're right, Mark. This is what success looks like. Not the failure of others, but the triumph of our own spirit. Stepping into the elevator, I hit the button for the ground floor. As the doors closed, I felt a sense of accomplishment wash over me. My new company was more than just a business, It was a testament to resilience, to the power of starting over, no matter the odds. And as for Alex and Emily? Well, their fate was a stark reminder that shortcuts and deceit never lead to lasting success. The real victory was here, in the hard work, the late nights, and the unbreakable bond of a team that had weathered the storm together.
All right, everyone's presentations are done, Nick, the manager, said as he tried to move the discussion forward. Excuse me, I haven't. I recently found out something. Nick interrupted me and began to speak. There's apparently someone in this department who didn't graduate high school and is just a part-timer. Meetings should be for employees only. Absolutely right. His lackey, Mike, of course, agreed with Nick. I'm leaving. After leaving the meeting room, I started to shut down my computer. I noticed that an email had arrived, not in my personal inbox, but in the company's shared email. Thinking, there's no point in speaking up, no one will listen, I went home quietly. The next day, I heard a commotion from Nick's desk. He was staring at his computer screen, his face pale. Nick! Is something wrong? Mike looked at the screen with him. And he turned even paler than Nick. Why is he so angry? Knowing the reason for Mike's distress, I thought to myself, serves them right. My name is Adam. My mother passed away when I was in the 9th grade, and I was raised by my father. Well, you could hardly call it being raised. After my mother passed, my father changed. He drowned his sorrows in alcohol, and though he still went to work, he squandered our living expenses on horse racing. Because of that, I had to start working part-time as soon as I entered high school. Every month, I went to the convenience store with bills in hand that couldn't be auto-deducted from my father's account. Even though I endured it because I didn't want to be alone, I reached my limit in my 2nd year of high school and dropped out. I found a live-in job at a distant inn. Thank you for everything. The day I left home, my father, still staring at the TV, spoke. Take care. That was our last conversation. Back then, 18 wasn't the age of majority, so I needed my father's permission to work, and I couldn't hide my place of employment. Yet, my father never visited me even once. I kept working just to survive, and before I knew it, I was 42. Years of hard work paid off, and I was transferred to the headquarters. I was thrilled to be recognized by the company, as I thought I'd be working in the field until retirement due to my lack of formal education. Listen up. Our work can change the future of our employees. Don't drag us down. On my first day after the transfer, Nick, dressed in an expensive suit, spoke sternly. There was a reason for this. Our inn was located in a prominent tourist destination, known so well that everyone in the state could sing its commercial jingle. At its peak, we had 5 locations within the state. But that was long ago. Due to financial difficulties and aging facilities, only the place where I had worked for many years and the original establishment remained. I was prepared to lose my job anytime, but now there was a glimmer of hope. With the rise of social media, the tourist area where the inn was located started gaining attention again. Depending on how hard the sales department, where I was transferred, worked, we could either thrive or be forced to give up this prime location to the new hotel chains continuously popping up. For Nick, who had switched careers from another industry to strengthen our sales, this was a battle he couldn't afford to lose. I understood why he had to be strict. I will do my best. Nick sneered at my enthusiastic declaration. Did you not hear what I said? I'm sorry. I thought I was listening carefully. Out of habit from years of customer service, I apologized reflexively, though I had no idea what had offended him. Someone was watching me with a smirk. In this department, there are those who are expected to excel and those who have been shoved here because they have nowhere else to go. You are the latter. It was Mike, the section chief. He's 7 years younger, at 35. But he was called to headquarters much earlier than I was and had been moving around within the headquarters ever since. I'm not jealous, but I can't accept that he's my boss. Graduating from a prestigious university, he has an unusually high pride and caused many problems as a newbie, making things very difficult for me when I was the front desk leader. When I found out Mike was transferred to the sales department a month before me, I was disheartened. Mike is right. With just a middle school diploma, there's not much you can do. Don't even think about achieving results. As if I didn't exist, Nick remarked, "I'm thirsty." Mike eagerly ran to the coffee maker. It seems Mike is Nick's lackey. I regretted being happy about my transfer to headquarters, wishing I had stayed on site forever. Send a direct mail to every company on this list by the end of the day. Nick only assigned me tasks that even a new graduate could handle. What? There are over 1,000 companies. You want me to send to all of them by today? Yes, if you and your fellow misfits split the work, even those with nowhere else to go should finish by today. I glanced at the employees typing away expressionlessly. They were worn out from customer service, only thinking about leaving on time, or were women reassigned after having children. With zero motivation for work. Even Sam, a new graduate from the same university as Mike, who was supposed to be among the expected achievers, had no enthusiasm for the job. Having joined the company wanting to do customer service. I don't care what they say, I plan to quit anytime, he said. Only Nick and Mike were highly motivated, making all the decisions between the two of them. I originally only wanted to work at the inn to survive and had no particular attachment to this job. I swallowed my words, thinking I had no right to reprimand them. About a month after the transfer, Nick told us with a frustrated look. To commemorate the 50th anniversary, we've decided to create a plan exclusive for one group per day. Originally, Mike and I were supposed to come up with it, but our president, Mr. Thompson, insists on hearing everyone's opinions. So, you all get a chance. As Nick explained, Mike began handing out prints. Make sure not to embarrass Nick. If your ideas are half-baked, you'll have to redo them. It seemed that they had printed his handwritten notes by Mr. Thompson, which included several questions and a section for free responses. It made sense why Nick had to seek our input, given that all responses had to be submitted to Mr. Thompson. We were given a week to think about it, and a meeting was scheduled to compile our ideas. My plan is to let guests enjoy both the old and modern America. Nick began the presentations. Guests would watch a master confectioner at a nearby traditional sweet shop make sweets in front of them. The welcome drink would be premium tea in a bottle. Nick's plan was certainly attractive. After his presentation, Nick called on us to present in the order we were seated. Just as I stood up for my turn. All right, everyone's presentations are done. Excuse me, I haven't. I recently found out something. Nick interrupted me. There's someone in this department who didn't graduate high school and is just a part-timer. He was likely talking about me. I joined the company as a part-timer and was made a full-time employee when I turned 20. That was 20 years ago, so Nick and Mike probably had no chance to know until recently. Meetings should be for employees only. Absolutely right. After that, Nick kept creating opportunities to solicit everyone's opinions, purposefully excluding me from speaking. The meeting unexpectedly heated up and went past the scheduled end time. A few people asked to leave, and the discussion continued with the remaining few. Still here? Normally, you'd leave in that situation. Though I had no attachment to the job initially, hearing kind words from customers made me want to make them happier. For someone like me, with nowhere to go, the inn was my home and customer service was my life. I felt pathetic about my current self. I'm leaving. I left the conference room and started shutting down my computer. I noticed an email had arrived, not in my personal inbox, but in the company's shared email. Thinking no one would listen to what I had to say anyway, I quietly went home. The next day, while preparing the DM as instructed, I heard a commotion from Nick's desk. In his haste to stand up, he hit his knee on the desk. He stared at his computer screen, his face pale. Nick! What's wrong? Mike, thinking he should be the first to rush over, approached Nick while still wearing his coat. He peered at the screen with Nick. And he turned even paler than Nick. Why is he so angry? Who is responsible for this company? Nick, more irritated than ever, asked, and Mike answered without checking. Probably Sam. Sam wasn't there because he was attending a morning training session for new hires. Nick gave up on getting angry and returned his gaze to the screen. They were looking at an email that arrived right after the end of the working day yesterday. Apparently, no one, including me, had checked it before leaving. The email was from a large company that used us for their annual employee trips. The president and executives of that company also frequently used our services personally. President of the company, Mr. Mason himself had declared that neither he nor his company would ever use our services again. Well, some companies cancel their employee trips or stop using our services due to financial struggles. Let's just move on. Mike kept wiping the sweat from his forehead with a handkerchief. Knowing why Mike was so agitated, I quietly watched their interaction. Do you know how much revenue we get from that company? We can find other guests to fill the rooms, but we'll lose the banquet costs, gift shop revenue, rental car fees, and more. Moreover, the gifts were supposed to be prepared by the traditional confectionery shop involved in Nick's proposed plan. If it's known that we incurred such a huge loss at this critical time, Nick's position in the company would be jeopardized. Nick took a deep breath, seemingly trying to calm himself. All right, Mike. Go to New York right now and apologize to Mr. Mason. What? You're coming with me, right? I have urgent work to do. I trust you, which is why I'm entrusting this to you. Please. Mike, believing Nick's sincerity, agreed with a determined look on his face, saying, yes. That's Nick for you. Even if Mike went to apologize, Nick would shift all the blame onto him if the client didn't change their mind. Well, it was Mike's fault to begin with, so it served him right. About 3 hours later, Sam answered a call from somewhere and repeatedly apologized, saying, I'm very sorry. Everyone watched to see what was happening. After ending the call, he informed Nick with a weary tone. When Mike arrived at the client's company, he only made things worse, further infuriating Mr. Mason. He was demanding, get his boss here immediately. It was no wonder Sam was exhausted, dealing with such a call right after returning from training. What is that idiot doing? All right, Adam, you're coming with me. If sacrificing Mike didn't work, then I must be next. Normally, I'd want to refuse at all costs, but I saw an opportunity in this situation. If I can be of assistance, I'd be happy to join you. I immediately followed Nick, and we flew to New York. When we introduced ourselves at the reception, it became clear how serious the situation was, as the receptionist personally escorted us to the president's office. Angry voices leaked through the door, making both Nick and me uneasy. Excuse me. I'm Nick, the supervisor. I understand my subordinate has caused you trouble, and I deeply apologize. Nick, with his experience in the corporate world, knew enough to offer an apology before excuses. However, his customer service skills left much to be desired. I sighed as I saw Mike trembling like a small dog in the corner of the room. What kind of training are you giving your subordinates? Mr. Mason glared at Nick with a red face. The intensity of his gaze made even Nick take a step back. Regrettably, I joined this company only 2 years ago and was unaware of Mike's issues. I should have identified his shortcomings sooner. Indeed. I should have realized sooner. No sensible person would come to apologize and then give a lengthy presentation on the drawbacks of not using their in. Nick froze, his mouth slightly open. Suspecting the worst, I picked up the documents that had fallen to the floor. It seemed Mike hastily prepared these documents on the plane, listing the disadvantages. Disadvantage 1: if you change the venue for the company trip, employees might suspect it's for cost-cutting reasons, leading to a negative impression. Reading it aloud half-jokingly, Nick snatched the papers from my hand and checked the contents with a furious expression. Among the stack of documents was a receipt from a nearby convenience store's copy machine. I felt a pang of dread, hoping he hadn't shown the receipt as well. What do you think he said when I asked what kind of nerve he had to do this? I'm very sorry. Faced with the dire situation, Nick must have thought there was nothing left to do but apologize. In a voice smaller than I'd ever heard from him, he uttered words of apology. He said, I'm a Harvard graduate. I don't believe I said anything wrong. Mike! What have you done? Forgetting his plan to pin the blame on Mike, Nick yelled loudly, even in front of Mr. Mason. I didn't do anything wrong. You're still saying that? Look at him. Mike pointed at me with a shaking hand. I was assigned to headquarters in my 20s and now I'm a section chief. This guy only made it to headquarters at 42. Everything I've done proves I was right. So why are we losing the contract? Having said his piece, Mike collapsed to the floor. Of course. You were sent there because you had nowhere else to go. Mike never expected to hear such words from someone he looked down upon. He lunged at me, and Nick hurriedly stepped in to stop him. Mr. Thompson told me Mike is a quick thinker, and to take good care of him. There's no way he was pushed aside. Don't make things worse here. He didn't say quick thinker, he said only quick-witted, didn't he? I don't remember that part. I recalled the many troubles Mike caused when he was a newbie. When Mike was on the front line, his pride was so high that he never apologized to customers. Customer service, especially in our job, doesn't work alone. It brings both good and bad situations. If the front staff or housekeepers made mistakes, or the cleaning company didn't properly clean a room, one had to apologize to the customers regardless of personal fault. Mike, in such situations, would never apologize, insisting he wasn't at fault. This often angered customers, and as the front desk leader, I frequently had to apologize on his behalf. He caused complaints and disrupted operations, which is why he was quickly moved to headquarters. In departments where he didn't interact directly with customers, his quick thinking was beneficial and things went well. But it seemed his flaws were starting to show. Corporate reservations are supposed to be entered into the system by the sales representative. But a quick check yesterday revealed that more than 10 items were missing from the client's reservation. The handover document clearly stated what needed to be prepared. Why didn't you enter it into the system? Why do we have to give them special treatment? Filling rooms near the banquet hall, setting up all the food in advance. Specifying the brand of wine, they're too demanding. No wonder he always angered customers, I thought, feeling a headache coming on. Grouping them in rooms near the banquet hall is for our benefit too. It makes it easier for the staff to set up beds and serve breakfast since everyone's schedule is synchronized. As for the other requests, Mr. Mason suggested them to lighten our load. I didn't know that. Nick finally seemed to realize that Mike was the one who had angered the client. What did you say to them? I just told them we wouldn't give them special treatment anymore. We shouldn't waste effort on things that don't bring in money. I was utterly exasperated at his lack of understanding of customer service. Of course, we shouldn't comply with unreasonable demands. But carrying over successful practices from past stays makes customers feel remembered and enhances their experience. Good memories encourage repeat visits. That's part of our job. I looked down at Mike, who was sitting on the floor. In our job, nothing is a waste. Mr. Thompson likely moved you to the sales department, hoping you'd finally understand this. How do you think he feels now that you've failed to meet his expectations? Mike, tears in his eyes, fled the president's office. I was amazed he still hadn't apologized. You have it tough, Adam. It's okay, we're all employees of the same company. I deeply apologize for this disrespectful incident. Especially after all the care you've shown us. If it weren't for you, Adam, I really would have stopped staying here. When I heard you were moving to the sales department, I was willing to reconsider if you handled it. Seeing us talk so amicably, Nick's face contorted. Do you two know each other? Adam's service is excellent. I always requested him specifically. Normally, we don't accept specific staff requests, but we made an exception for Mr. Mason, adjusting my shifts accordingly. He had personally stayed at our hotel just before my transfer, and during casual conversation, I mentioned, I'm moving to the sales department soon. If I hadn't told him then, things could have been much worse. Please continue to take care of us. I look forward to it. On the return flight, Nick awkwardly offered me a can of beer. It's still working hours. Of course, I had no intention of forgiving him for a single beer. Nick might try to pin everything on Mike and avoid any consequences. While pondering this, a startling fact came to light. Nick, the tea bottles for the plan have arrived. I handed Nick a bottle labeled with our inn's name. They look good. What are you talking about? These are plastic bottles. I had assumed we would use the trendy, high-end bottling tea. But what arrived were ordinary plastic bottles of tea with customized labels. The only unique aspect was the label, which had the inn's name, making it look customized. Upon further investigation, I discovered that a substantial amount of money was set to be paid to the tea company. It was priced like bottling tea. Does this plastic bottle really cost $100 each? The tea inside is specially blended for us. The extra cost is for that. Wouldn't it be better to use another tea company? Or is there a specific reason we must use this one? As Nick continued to make excuses, I showed him a printed email. I informed the tea company's president, Mr. Mitchell, that we discovered irregular payments and he confessed. He said you two were high school classmates and planned to split the extra money. That idiot. Why did he confess? That's not important. You should worry about yourself, this could turn into a police matter. Opening the bottle cap, I suggested. How about calming down with this tea? It supposedly has a relaxing effect. Nick drank the tea frantically. In the following days, decisions were made about their fates. Mike was reassigned to the General Affairs Department, with no chance of transfer or promotion, as per Mr. Thompson's orders. As for Nick, since the payment to the tea company hadn't yet been made, he narrowly avoided legal trouble. Instead, he was encouraged to leave the company, and to avoid further complications, Nick submitted his resignation. Rumor has it that connections between HR departments have made it difficult for him to find new employment. Even though it was good to have those two gone, something unexpected happened in the sales department. Everyone became motivated and united in refining the 50th anniversary plan. In the end, my plan was adopted. We collaborated with the Tourist Information Center to provide personalized guides. The plan, tailored to the number of guests, was truly special for the 50th anniversary. Hey, is Adam's family coming to stay? I immediately booked that special plan for my family. Sam noticed it on the reservation list and quickly picked up on it. Yes, I'm inviting my father. That's great. I might invite my parents too. I lacked the courage to face my father just as Adam. But here, with the confidence Mr. Mason praised, I felt ready. The 50th anniversary plan was a perfect opportunity to reconnect with my father. I hoped to bring back the days when we could laugh together as we once did.